Thank you for joining me for another episode of Life with No Breaks. I'm Juanetta, your host, and a topic this week that has been a focal point of mine. I wanted to share a phase in my life that may not seem like it's a phase, but more so a common occurrence in life. And what I'm talking about is fear. Fear becomes a living, breathing part of you. And unfortunately, it took a hold of my life from 2016 to, I'll say, about 2020. In June of 2020, though, I decided that fear and I should move in opposite directions. In doing so, I wrote a letter to my fears and posted it on my blog titled Hello Fear. It's located on lifewithnobreaks.com under the blog section, and you'll find that for June 21st, 2020. The letter goes like this. Hello Fear. Time and time again, I find myself addressing you. Remember the time when I decided I wanted more in life and you laughed and said, someone like you can't do that? Or the other time when I thought my life was heading down the right path, but as always, you showed me the very reason why wanting more in life isn't meant for me. Well, at least that is what I thought and felt. I have allowed you to override my every decision and helped myself to the path in which I am taking a huge detour from today. I've learned that I won't go to hell because of wanting more in life. I no longer subscribe to that type of talk. I will no longer use you as my comfort. I will no longer allow you to be used in my life as a weapon, as a comfort. And no longer are you the controlling force in my life. This serves as a handwritten notice that I am expelling you and any traces of you out of my life. My future is now demanding possession of my vessel, and at this moment, no negotiation is necessary. I am repossessing my life from you, effective immediately. No further action is necessary, and no further homage will be erected in your name. Sincerely, someone who can no longer deal with your ass. And I'm reading that from my notes section, and I wrote that June 21st, 2020. And it shows that it was saved at 12:52 p.m. on that day. Wow. I did not understand at the time when those fears developed and why I chose to hold on to those fears. However, I knew that it was time to let them go. Once I wrote the letter, I felt better. But little did I know that the fear I was saying goodbye to would eventually be manifested. Each one started to unfold and I had no control over it. None. No matter what I thought I was doing, I couldn't control it. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't do anything. I felt defenseless, helpless. During that stage of life for me, I was scared. I was under the impression that the people I knew would be the village that I needed. I was under the impression that with everything that was going on in my life, that the people who knew my story knew what I was going through, that they would come in on their white shiny horses and save me and my family. Realizing when those who did say that they were going to help did not show up in the way that they said that they were going to show up, I realized that that was a fear of mine as well that was embedded in that. And oh my gosh, felt defeated. I really did. Because how in the world is it we're supposed to trust and believe in friends and family being there for you? And then when you're in your darkest moment, you want someone to say, hey, I got you. You're doing the heavy lifting. Let me pull you to shore. You know, none of that stuff, none of that fairy tale stuff that was going on in my head. And to be honest, I did not understand that even though that was going on, even though that was a fear of mine, why wasn't I upset with that fear being unlocked? Why wasn't I upset in my feelings in the way that I had been with every other fear that was unlocked? That's very human of a person to expect those that say that they're going to help you in whatever way that they say that they're going to help. You're expecting them to be able to help when you're in a position where you can't help yourself. And those people don't come. So it's human nature for you to have a change of heart, towards those people because, again, that's human nature, and not knowing what they have going on and why they were not able to show up kind of puts your brain in a tailspin because you don't know what happened. And if they're not telling you what happened, then your mind starts to wonder. Well, mine didn't. And that's what threw me off the most, that I didn't start having that sensation. Like, well, why didn't anyone come through for me? And then I started thinking, the reason why no one came through is because this is not their journey. Maybe it was just a way keeping yet another issue from forming on my plate. Maybe that was just my way of wanting to continue to focus on the path ahead versus the rumblings of the past. Because at that point in time, that was now considered the past, that nobody came through. I still wondered. But then I ended up realizing that I'm an overthinker and this tendency to loan my way of thinking to others. Now, what I do, like a dummy, is that I put myself in someone else's shoes, but think in the sense of myself. Like, what would I do instead of what I'm being told was the thought process, was the actions behind the why. I end up putting myself into those shoes and seeing it from my point of view only and not from that other person's point of view. So I'm literally thinking that, this person has a grudge against me because I would have a grudge against them. Well, if this was a different situation, I think that this is what I would have done. And I stay in that mode versus looking at the situation for what it is and for what I was told that it was. Not inserting myself and trying to make something out of nothing. And in my case, overthinking the situation and not looking at what's going on in real life. I'm told the reason why it didn't come to pass. I should be able to understand that. And I shouldn't have to put any effort towards making it something else. And that's what I ended up discovering, is that even though that fear was unlocked in me, I was able to take the different course of action. I looked at it from a point of view of, this is not their journey. These are not these other people's fears being unlocked. They're mine. And if I'm going to say goodbye to something and I want to be able to walk out there in faith and leave certain things in the past where they belong, then I also need to understand that sometimes the past does come into your present. But because of the lessons that you learned in the past, you're supposed to extract the lesson that you learned and apply it to that new situation. Because it's no longer happening in the past. Now it's front and center in front of your face. Now, what are you going to do about it? And that's how I basically looked at it. And I still look at my journey as just that. And I also realized that the fear of going through hardships alone was no longer necessary. I stopped trying to make other people me and then getting upset when I'm not represented. At this point in my life, I have minimized my fear. There is a need for fear, and that's to keep you out of trouble. Those little fears that keep me out of trouble, keep me out of harm's way, keep me sane, those things I want to remain. When you work through your fears, a certain strength within you unlocks as well. Once you learn how to deal with, handle, or get over that fear, a strength that you thought was not there, it unlocks because now that fear has dwindled. Now you have a strength within you, and now you know that that is no longer a fear in your life. And some of these fears, I will not tell anybody to unlock and unload and go through by yourself. There's a therapist, psychiatrist that is out there that can be able to help you with whatever fears you're dealing with. I hope that if you choose to have a therapist or if you do it alone, that you unlock these fears with faith. Give yourself grace. Pat yourself on the back. Let you know that you did it. Congratulate yourself for moving forward. To recap, I was able to recognize fears and deal with them head on. I was able to unlock areas of my life that I did not know was there. And those things happened to be the strength within me that had been locked away due to that particular fear. So I encourage anyone who is dealing with a fear, I advise you to go to a therapist, see a psychologist, get help from a trained mental health professional, because some of these fears is not good for us to unlock alone. I had to go through fears, but being on the opposite side of them, I feel better and I feel more empowered than I have in all of my adult years, being honest. That's it. Hopefully you learned something, you took something away. If not, hey, this wasn't your episode. Maybe the next one. But until then, have a good one.